ようこそどうぞはじめまして
Hello everyone, welcome to the GLORIO Chat, the best anime podcast on the internet.
The healthiest anime podcast on the internet.
You know, I was going to start off by saying we survived the holidays and all of 2018, but apparently we didn't.
We did not.
So, rest in peace, Iroh. He was supposed to be on with us today, but he did not survive.
We might be mourning Marlin soon enough as well at this rate. But
Marlin's on his last legs. Gee, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling yes. I'm feeling great. After absorbing both Marlin and Iroh's life energy, I'm feeling better than ever. I feel stronger, more powerful. Life is great.
You're ready to drop a spirit bomb on this podcast.
Indeed.
All right. So, so we are here to talk about, since we're now starting in 2019, it is time for our winter season preview. A little later than usual, unfortunately, but we had, year-end stuff going on we wanted to cover. Obviously, there are some shows already out as we're recording, and there will be more by the time this post goes up. But most things will be coming out over the course of the next week. So I think it's close enough.
Yeah.
Hopefully people will listen beforehand. So
at this point, it's like, what, 3 shows have come out by the time of this recording?
And there'll be a couple more, because if this is going to go out Monday, then there'll probably be a couple more out, I think, by then. But
yeah,
not
I think
too
there's
many.
A couple Sunday shows.
Yeah. I think most of it is going to be hitting like Tuesday, Wednesday-ish is when it's going to really start the true anime apocalypse. So anyway, on the podcast today, we were trying to get Team GLORIO USA, but once again, RIP Iroh. Hopefully we'll see his spirit return some other day. But so just to introduce who we do have, I'm Gel, at least for now until I change all my screen names to Casanova Wong.
Telling you, it's a great cyberpunk runner name.
Yes, I know it's poor form to tell inside jokes on the podcast, but I couldn't help myself because that is the greatest screen name of all time. And for context for our listeners, we kind of fell down a rabbit hole of old kung fu movies this past week. And
yes, we look forward to announcing the GLORIO Network's newest podcast, where G, Gel, and Iroh will be watching every kung fu movie made in the 1970s and commentating over them.
Yes, so look forward to that.
Of Bruce Lee.
No, we're starting with the really important stuff, like Lady Constables and
yes, yeah, we watched the Lady Constables and whatever the one with
Warriors 2.
It was yes, the Warriors 2, which was actually a fairly legit movie.
No, that one was actually legit good, really solid work by Sammo Hung in that one.
Yeah, because we started looking for real low budget, churned out kung fu movie trash, which is the has its own appeal, but that one actually.
For sure.
When I saw it was Casanova Wong and Sammo Hung together, I was like, okay, I have to watch this movie. But anyways, way off topic now.
Yes.
Let's continue on. We have G.
Yo.
As everyone has heard. And for now, we have Marlin.
I'm not dead yet.
Yes.
Well, we'll see. This season ain't looking great. Who knows what it might do to your frail constitution?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. No kidding.
Well, I have cut out a lot of the trash because if you've listened to our season preview podcast before, we don't talk about every show, just since that would just not be physically possible in the amount of time that we normally try to aim for. So I've culled down a lot of things. There's some bad stuff in there as well, as I'm trying to pick things that are sort of notable, for better or worse. But let's get into it. So kind of one of the big defining things I think coming up next season. There is a lot of sequels and continuing shows from last season, like a lot more than usual. So normally, like, we don't cover those like in the preview guide stuff, but I did want to talk about some of those here. So
I mean, some of them are definitely worth talking about.
Right.
And yes, some of the best shows I think that are going to be happening next season are going to be returning shows. So, so yeah, let's start there, and we'll talk about some of the sequels, returning, continuing stuff, and we'll start with Mob Psycho 100.
Hell yeah!
Yeah.
This was our number 6 best anime of 2016, so you know it must be good. And it is returning for a second season. So the actual plot is about this kind of quiet boy who just wants a normal life with a girlfriend, but he also happens to have incredibly strong psychic powers that he only uses when his pissed off meter hits 100%.
To give some context, this is an adaptation of a manga that was written by One, who you might know as the writer of One Punch Man. So
yes.
So when we say that Mob is this kid with extremely powerful psychic powers, we mean extremely powerful psychic abilities.
Like broken.
Yes, which is definitely kind of the intent of the gimmick of the show, so to speak.
Right. It is kind of loosely, kind of tangentially similar to how One Punch Man works, where the main character is so powerful that it's really himself that is the kind of limiting factor on his powers.
Right.
Other than that, though, I think Mob is kind of more like closer to a traditional kind of battle shonen type of show. Would you say that's fair?
Mm-hmm.
I would say so. Oh, sorry, Marlon,
in comparison to One Punch Man, which I think One Punch Man is kind of more, it's kind of a different thing, but
it's
more inherently comical
satire element.
Yeah. Whereas Mob is maybe slightly more straightforward, but I don't know. I'm actually
sorry, go ahead.
I'm actually kind of surprised because I normally don't like this kind of show, and I actually very much enjoyed Mob. I was surprised I ended up like watching the whole thing, and I really enjoyed it.
Totally. I think, we don't want to just turn this into the Praise Mob Psycho 100 cast, but I do think that, like, the reason why Mob Psycho works so well, and I think might work well for you as well, Jel, is that, yes, it is kind of a more straightforward, standard battle-style series, but I think it's a lot more sincere than One Punch Man. Like, One Punch Man is operating on this kind of pure technical spectacle, I mean, it's very telling that One Punch Man, the anime, is closer to an adaptation of what's his name, Murata's adaptation of the manga, right?
Right.
Famous Eyeshield 21 and just general shonen artist legend Murata's art is kind of what defines One Punch Man. Whereas Mob Psycho 100, which is being adopted by Bones, we should note, is very much a lot closer to the original manga's art style and presentation. And not only that, but it's I think just to use the word again, it's a lot more sincere, like, yes, it's about like, oh, look at this kid with these super powered, psychic abilities, but I think, we always talk about, like, really the last episode, right, where it's like there's actually a surprising amount of heart to that show that I think kind of helps carry it through its more satirical spectacle aspects.
Yeah, like the stuff with Mob's brother, where, like, he's really just feeling this jealousy, and it's like it's really kind of goofy. The jealousy fuels his psychic power, or like his growth into psychic powers. But like, they do introduce some legitimate, sibling drama, even if there's sometimes like just completely goofy payoffs for all the drama.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's definitely a very funny anime as well. I mean, I already forget their name, like the Self-Improvement Club or whatever. Like,
all right.
I think those guys were like low key, maybe my favorite characters in that show. So, But at the same time, it's like they're jokey, right? They're a comical group, but also like they kind of represent a real, tangible, support net for Mob and his desire to like self-improve in ways that don't just rely on his psychic powers. And I kind of hope that's kind of what we see more in the second season of Mob Psycho, is kind of, kind of more of Mob just trying to wrangle with his powers and like trying to be someone beyond just, being defined by his powers, which I think is kind of like the primary criticism that what's the name of Mob's shitty teacher? Shitty boss.
I always forget his name.
Oh yeah,
but yeah, like
kind of the
Reagan.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I guess Reagan. Yes. That's, now saying that out loud, sounds a lot like a certain American president. But yes, when Ronald Reagan gives that scathing criticism to the like bad cult dudes, and like how you're all just a bunch of like chuny losers who are like, you solely define yourselves by your powers. It's like that's kind of the crux of what Mob is trying to escape. So I kind of hope we see a lot more of that. In addition to just Bones' kind of typical, top-notch presentation and animation.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
There was some. Yeah, it's interesting because you mentioned how this is written by One Punch Man, but it's not, obviously doesn't have the art of Murata involved in it, so it's a very different kind of look aside from like the the One Punch Man like joke face is where you kind of see the connection, I think. But the whatever you call that face, I don't know if there's a name for it, but I think everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Yes.
And it kind of makes it, even though it might not seem like as like traditionally beautiful, so to speak, it's a lot more of a kind of a unique visual style that I thought was really appealing. Even though it's not like pretty, so to speak, it's it's very interesting and creative.
Yeah, I mean, don't get it twisted. Like, Mob Psycho is the sort of anime that Bones feels is necessary to bring their like top A team. Guys like Utapon, get attached to shows like Mob Psycho.
Right.
It's
your Earth shattering into squares and
exactly. Gotta love those exploding cubes.
Oh yeah, just all the flourishes. That man, yeah, it's always so impressive to watch.
I mean, I think Mob Psycho was my actual like favorite looking anime of the year it came out. Just Bones, spoilers, they do good work.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, so I think we're all pretty excited for that to come back. I don't remember where the story left off, but I don't want to spoil anything either. But we'll see how that goes.
And I think I will just say real quick. Sorry, Joe. Let me just say one last thing. One last thing about Mob, because I have a feeling Mob Psycho might be like one of the only shows we're going to be able to talk this excitedly and this positively about in this podcast. So I just want to say that maybe also a lot of our hopes are lying with Mob Psycho 100, because frankly, it's kind of maybe the not the sole highlight. And you know what? I'll happily eat crow in a couple of weeks when we do our like, first impressions podcast, if some of these other ones really stand out. But it seems for now, Mob Psycho is kind of the only really solid bet. This upcoming season.
I think it's fair to say it's like the safest bet. I'm sure we'll find other good shows, but some of them are looking pretty hit or miss. But this one, I feel like this one we're pretty confident it's going to be good. So
totally.
All right, so let's keep moving along then to our next show on the list, which really I mostly want to talk about because I'm shocked that it's actually happening. There is
I'm surprised to see this one.
There's a second season of Real Girl, which if you remember a couple seasons ago, I was kind of shocked that it's a pretty decent romantic comedy with a heavy emphasis on the romance part. It is the story of a loser nerd otaku guy who ends up going out with the hot delinquent girl in school, and kind of them figuring out their relationship. And other than kind of dabbling in some shoujo tropes here and there, it's a pretty solid show. I enjoyed it, and I'm kind of looking forward to more. Again, I was just kind of shocked that it actually happened because the studio, which I think is I looked this up earlier, Hoods, I think it's Hoods Entertainment, has been having a lot of trouble getting shows done.
Oh, really?
Over the past 2 years, really.
What have they done other than Real Girl?
They were last seen trying to finish that Marchen Madchen show or whatever, if you recall.
Those people.
Okay.
Which I don't think they ever did. I think they had to cancel the last 2 episodes or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, there was something really, just wrong.
Are they sitting at the same cafeteria table as UFO table these days in terms of anime studios that just seem to have been permanently scarred by one project?
Sure, but they don't have that. They didn't have that fate money in the bank, I don't think.
Right.
So I was kind of shocked that this actually happened. But it's a pretty solid romance show. Again, if you're not into that kind of thing, I don't know if it really has enough new there to broaden the appeal, so to speak. But I thought it was pretty good, and it's probably going to get a little more serious in season 2, just the way the plot developed from season 1. With they kind of strongly imply that the main girl has some kind of anime disease, which you know how that usually goes.
Oh no,
not anime disease.
Anime-itis.
As long as it's better than Your Lie in April.
I mean,
well, I would hope so, but I cannot.
Shit.
I don't know. We'll have to see. So
sorry, Joe. Was Real Girl the one that came out in that season with all of those other sweet romance shows of sorts? That
no, it was.
Okay, I just kind of lump them all together. So
it was either slightly before or after. I don't think it was in that block with a Place Further in the Universe and Takagi-san and all
season
that.
Afterwards.
Yeah, it might have been the season after. So it was fairly recent. All right, so let's keep moving to a show that I'm actually excited for. The return of Kakegurui. Kakegurui XX, I guess. You know what?
I like to.
Sure, why not?
You know what? I have a feeling, this is complete conjecture, I have not looked it up. I have a feeling that's going to be pronounced Double Cross.
Oh man, are they adopting Guilty Gear naming conventions?
This is the kind of show. This is the kind of show that would do something that gloriously stupid.
Man, I cannot wait for Kakegurui Double Cross Accent Core, and then Kakegurui Chrono Phantasm.
And
wait, I'm getting my game mixed up here.
Kakegurui Tag Team Battle.
Kakegurui XR 3rd Turbo Special Edition. Anyway, so if you somehow missed that show because Netflix didn't put it out for 9 months after it originally aired,
thanks Netflix.
Yeah.
This is a show about super rich kids who go to this high school where they gamble for social standing, and the best gamblers end up on the super powerful student council, while the worst ones that can't pay their debts literally become slaves. It is the most ridiculous, campy, over-the-top, just trashy mess. And it's super stylish, and it's just fun to watch. They come up with these really stupid gambling games that don't make any sense, and they take it 120% seriously to the point where it's it's almost funny. And
am I right that they had Russian roulette at one point?
Yes, they did play Russian roulette at one point. But it was a very weird version of Russian roulette. It was not there was cards involved and stuff. But
Russian roulette, Texas Hold'em Russian roulette.
It was
my favorite variation of the old classic.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the important point, as I say all that, is the show very much knows that's what it is, and it fully embraces it and plays it up to the greatest effect possible.
Totally.
So it's not it's not like you ironically watch it because it's bad. It's it is trying to be trash and rolling around in it, and it loves it, and I love it too.
It's fine, Gel. You don't have to defend it that hard. I think we all get like we get exactly what it's trying to be, right? Like, it is.
Yeah.
And I think there's nothing wrong with a show that is that confidently, how shall I say, like proud of what it's so self-confident in knowing exactly what it is and fulfilling that to the absolute best of its ability, whatever that might be.
And the voice acting seemed really good too.
Yes, there is a lot of over the top super hammy voice acting, which is obviously a critical point for this type of thing. I guess I wanted to make sure that was all clear, because I would watch a show that was bad with those kinds of descriptions if it were unintentionally bad. So I just want to make it clear that this is intentionally trash, and it's pretty great.
Right.
Also, shout out to the I have to watch more of the live action version. That was pretty fun.
Right. It has one of the main characters from Kamen Rider Gaim as the main guy.
Yes, as the completely useless and irrelevant main male character. That was kind of the one of the interesting things that in episode 1, when the show started, was like they introduced like the kind of lame male protagonist guy, and you're like, oh great, here we go. And then he just like completely gets sidelined when the real main character shows up, and he sticks around as like sort of like almost like the narrator almost, but he has almost nothing to do with the actual plot of the show. So that was kind of fun. But anyway, it's a fun show. Not a lot of meat to it, obviously, but it's a visual spectacle and just kind of fun to watch, and I'm looking forward to that one. Moving along to a show that's not a visual spectacle nor fun to watch. And really, I only stuck in here again as another show I am shocked it still exists. Piano Forest is continuing.
Oh, right.
And I just wanted to mention it because let's just put this out there. Can we please just let Gainax die in peace?
Please let Gainax rest.
Let them.
It is tired.
Farm.
Yes. Let them. Go ahead, G.
Just we look, man. We all knew Gainax died when Amaishi left after Panty and Stalking. We all knew Gainax died after Ano left to do the Ava movies on his own. Like, Uru and Blue is never happening. Fucking Panty and Stalking season 2 is never happening. Just
Gunbuster 3 never happening.
Is never happening. Like, we have watched them drag Gainax's corpse throughout the ages, just year after year. Like, I was still in college when Gainax died. I'm an adult now, and I still am forced to just look at Gainax's, just desiccated corpse being thrown around like it's still relevant. It's it's like watching a family member fade away. It's
oh man,
and
that's
and it's not just like, and it's not just a course of a couple months. It's years, man. Fucking, yeah. I don't know, like.
And then every once in a while you'll get a C3 boo, and there's like a spark of life, and then it's
but that's the thing. Even that C3 boo thing, I felt like was like, that was very much like the glowing embers of a dying fire sort of thing. Like there are no, there are no ashes here. There are no white hot ashes left to be found. This fire is dead, man. Like, obviously, like, you never want to say things are set in stone, right? Like, a studio could always make a comeback. I mean, fucking Madhouse did somehow, but it's just like, I don't know. The only way I feel like Gainax could ever make a comeback to relevancy is like,
are they going to make any money off of Evangelion going on Netflix? I mean,
that's a good question.
We can only speculate, but maybe that would between that and the selling tomatoes, maybe that'll help them get back on their feet. I don't know, man.
The Ava rights thing are a super weird situation legally, as far as I know. But
Yeah.
I think theoretically, yes, rights to the TV show, that money would go to Gainax. So
They can pay their back taxes finally. Who knows? Yeah, that's situations. Just let them go, because obviously it's not just money too. You have to have talent.
You need talent. Yeah.
And all the people that we know Gainax is just long gone. So like, even if you gave them a huge cash infusion, would it even matter? Because like, who's there, right? So
Right.
just let the name go, and we have the memories. They can live on in our heart. I can rewatch Fooly Cooly anytime, and let them rest in peace. But we don't need to actually talk about the show. I don't really care about Piano Forest.
No, I don't think any of us watched a single episode of the Piano Forest or whatever.
Yeah, because it was really ugly.
It looked like hot trash.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did watch the first episode, and it's kind of a bad sign when you need to pull in the CG to make a piano.
In the first episode.
But in the first episode, no less. So anyway, let's keep moving along. A lot of this tail end of these sequels, continuing shows that are just kind of public service announcements here of things that are continuing. But I did want to just remind everyone that Luigi has forsaken us, and the year of Kirito continues.
We are truly living in the darkest timeline.
Yeah.
So Sword Art Online is still continuing. Interesting, I have not heard anybody talking about it except for one. There was one incident where there was a controversial sexual assault episode, because of course there was.
Yep.
And which I did not watch it. I did not care to watch it, but I read about it, and it was so bad that the author actually sort of apologized for it.
I mean, what does that actually mean? Because
that's maybe being generous.
Yeah.
He basically said,
shifted the blame.
Yeah, he basically was like, "Oh, well, I wrote that 10 years ago, and I'm different now," or whatever. And it's like, yeah, dude, but you still cashed the check, man.
And the animators, they went too far.
That seems like a weird. Well, I get it, right? Like, adaptations are always going to be, a subjective thing, but to just be like, no, I didn't write that. It was the animators. They're the lusty horn dogs who added this in. Like Mr. 7 years of glopping semen or whatever, that line was.
Yeah, I'm sorry, dude. What? You can't just
I feel like we've joked about this, Marlin, right? Like, about the
0.5, right? Like the chapter.
Yeah, the extra books he wrote.
Completely blanked there for a second.
Where he graduated from light novels to straight up just I don't even know, literary smut.
Basically a lemon.
Yes. To use the fanfic terms.
Anyway, so Sword Art Online still sucks, but it's going to be going for another 9 months, so enjoy. Also want to mention JoJo's Bizarre Adventure continues on.
Yeah.
Have you guys been keeping up with that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally.
How's this part been going?
It's a little slow, but I mean,
yeah. The powers are cool. I hate that I'm the one here. I mean, Marlin's here as well, but I hate that I'm the one here talking about JoJo, because I think for better or worse, I have come away from part 5 a little cool, I guess you'd say, especially compared to part 4. I think the part 5 cast is, I don't know, just maybe not as likable. They're weirdos, but they're not weirdos in the way that I like my JoJo weirdos to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely been a little slow. I feel like, I mean, look, I could go back and maybe watch up to the first 12 episodes of part 4 and find out that actually they didn't really do that much, but I feel like we're 12 episodes into part 5, and we haven't even seen all the stand powers of Giorno's gang yet.
Right. Yeah, that's the big thing. I'm pretty sure at least by episode 12, we got what is it? We got at least the main 3 guys.
I mean, at least 12 episodes in to part 4, you already knew that Koichi was not to be fucked
Right.
with. And that's the most important takeaway from early part 4. So.
Yeah.
But it's still solid. It's still solid. David Production does good work. And
Still very stylish.
Yeah, totally. Very solid. Just, I think it's kind of, with part 5, kind of settling into that very, comfortable, you know exactly what to expect from it at this point.
Yeah, it's probably not going to win number 3 like some of its predecessors.
Yeah, I think part 5 might be the first one to...
Oh, no, we didn't give it to Starcrest Crusaders. I think it got, number 6 or something.
Oh, did it? I guess that makes sense. Part 3 is not particularly my favorite either. So.
It was a stacked team.
I mean, with this one... is this one even going to make our top 10?
I guess we'll find out.
I think that really definitely depends on its end game, I think, because JoJo is JoJo. It could always just introduce some late game shit that just completely, tips the balance. But based on early impressions, I could see part 5 kind of, for better or worse, ending up in a number 4 or number 5 spot in my personal top 10 list, if even.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess it is a little hard to make that call on January 5th or whatever today is. But
also, yes, that it's motherfucking. We're fucking 5 days into January.
So
I think 5 days into 2018, I said Garo Vanishing Line would be my number 1 anime of 2018, and look how that fucking turned out. So.
Yeah. So a little early for that talk, but I guess we'll see. All right. Well, it's still there if you want it.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
So, one more show we want to cover as far as the returning stuff. I just want to once again shout out Certain Magical Index Season 3 continuing. I have not actually
Speaking of more comfortable anime trash.
I have not had a chance to catch totally up, but I am in the middle of the arc, which is basically Toma Saves Britain, and there are so many. There are so many lines that could be taken out of context and made into Brexit jokes.
Oh no!
I feel like I should just make a series of screen caps of just out of context lines and just post those. But
I'm sure someone already has.
Yeah,
I'm especially broken up that Eero's not here because now that we have an excuse to talk about Index again, perhaps now we could finally hold the inquisition of actually, is Index that good, or do you guys just tolerate its version of anime trash compared to other versions of anime trash?
I don't think they've ever pretended that that's not the case. It's just...
Oh, I don't know. Did you listen to the podcast where these guys said that Index was smarter than Fate?
Oh, yeah, that's right. You're totally wrong.
I don't think we ever said smarter. I think
you at least implied better written or more consistent.
Well, that
maybe more consistently written.
Maybe, but yeah, I don't know. And they just announced last night they just announced a Index gacha game is coming, so maybe they really are coming for Fate's Throne. Since FGO is a terrible gacha game, but people just play it because it's Fate and it has busty anime girls. Maybe it just needs some proper competition. But anyway, that show's still fun. I'll be catching up with that soon. And so that's pretty much covers the sequels continuing shows. And let's move on into the new stuff.
All right.
So these are kind of loosely in chronological order. So actually, I think the first 2 shows are already out. I'm not sure if maybe even the third one is. But we'll start with Boogiepop and Others. This is... Okay, I'm going to do my best to try to explain... if anybody remembers Boogiepop Phantom, which was a moderately successful kind of psychological thriller type show way back in, I think it was either 99 or 2000.
It was one of those anime that hung out at the same table as Serial Experiments, Lane, and Ergo Proxy to give you an indication.
Yeah, it was kind of that period of anime there.
And it seems kind of like
kind of
Parasite adjacent in its themes. Is that right?
I think Parasite is a lot more like pulpy, let's be honest. Like I like Parasite, but Parasite is about like fucking evil aliens. It's very 90s. It's very
Right.
90s like gore, spectacle in terms of its approach. Whereas I feel like, at least based on, I don't know a goddamn thing about Boogiepop Phantom other than its opening, but I think I can only assume it is a pretty different kind of story.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's more of a, like I said, kind of a psychological type of thing than, I mean, there is like some action and blood and stuff like that, but I never actually watched Boogiepop Phantom either, but other than, clips floating around and stuff way back when. But so this particular series, so for a little broader context, Boogiepop is like a novel series that's been going on since like 1999 or something like that. And it is about this, I guess Boogiepop is kind of like this, urban legend character, but it actually exists for real. And it kind of appears in different people's lives, and each novel is sort of like a different story with like a different set of characters, and it's kind of told as like more vignettes than kind of like a big overarching story type of thing.
Okay.
But
so this is where
so
your,
I guess
Kino's Journey reference in the preview comes from.
yeah, there's that, and also just reviving an anime from that era, like 15 to almost 20 years later.
Right.
I think there's probably some comparisons to be made in there. But so this particular series, so Boogiepop Phantom was, I guess, not really a novel. It was like an original story in between a novel or something. If I read that all correctly, I tried to do as much research as I could on it. But and this series, this new series, Boogiepop and Others, is actually going to be adapting the actual first novel of the series. So, yeah, other than that, I mean, I don't know too much about it plot wise, other than, like I said, it's kind of more of like a kind of psychological thriller type of thing. I think there's some like conspiracy theory stuff going on in the background too, or whatever. But in the spirit of
I don't know
those,
jack shit about this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, I mean,
in the spirit of those other shows that G mentioned, probably gives you kind of an idea of the type of show it is. And we're going to be kind of if people haven't watched it, we're kind of in the same boat where we're gonna have to see how it turns out.
Yeah.
And like I said, that is actually already out as of time of recording, so
it is.
I guess we
Right.
can
Just that none of us actually got around to watching it. So.
we just did not get around to watching it yet, because it literally came out like last night or something. So we'll get on that, and we'll have our normal first looks and all that coming soon.
Yeah, Crunchyroll getting a lot of the good releases other than Kakegurui.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's going to be doomed to Netflix again. Netflix was really hyping that up. You know what? Actually, I'm not sure how much of that is Netflix hyping it up, or just the quote unquote algorithm showing it to me in my personal Netflix.
Yeah, it's entirely possible.
People's mileage may vary, but yeah, they somehow thought to put that to the top of my recommendations when that came out, and still have it there. So, all right. So let's keep it moving here on to the next show, which is also out. And G, you actually watched this. You and Ira watched this, right?
Yes.
So,
we watched this last night because we have good priorities, and instead of watching, things like Boogiepop, which are probably the thing that people are actually going to be paying attention to, we decided it was more important to watch this fucking anime mecha trash. So,
well, let me just start with saying we're talking about The Price of Smiles, which it does have some credibility, as this has been touted as the 55th anniversary of Tatsunoko Productions, and this is the anime they have chosen to make, which is really weird to me because it doesn't seem like anything related to anything traditionally Tatsunoko at all.
Right, I was gonna say, we were already making jokes like, okay, like by episode 6, are they going to reveal that this is actually like a distant, far sci-fi reimagining of like some ancient Tatsunoko property in the same way as like Yatterman or Gatchaman or something.
Right, you would have thought they would have gone in that direction again or something for this, but no. So as far as I can tell, it's a completely original thing, right?
Seems so far, yes.
So I mean, G, since you watched it, what's the what is it? You want to give us the pitch on what this one's about?
Sure, I can do that. So basically, it's a mecha anime about, I guess, I mean, now that I look at the promo material, I think there's actually going to be more of a like revolving cast sort of thing. But at least based on the first episode, it is about Princess Yuki, who is ascending to the throne of her fucking like anime magical kingdom of Haryant or whatever. And Yuki is just she's a cute, precocious princess who's being introduced to the burdens of leadership, and stumbling a bit, but her earnest and innocence, her earnest innocence and naivete just are winning over the hearts of all the people or something. And
so she's like that the Lolly Empress from Code Geass.
Kinda, yeah, except imagine she was actually the head of state, or seems to be the head of state. So the only reason I'm not writing this anime off entirely, despite its like kind of dreadful first 10 minutes, is that there are enough glimmers of self-awareness in it that I think I will at least give it a couple more episodes. But yeah, basically it's like, I don't know, very anime royalty style aesthetic, if if you know what I'm talking about. Like, just those words might already conjure up a certain type of image. And
I think of a Tales game when you say that.
Yeah, like Tales series, or like a very like Code Geass, like what the kind of outfits that the nobility were wearing in that, very like outlandish, flamboyant, but like vaguely nobility inspired uniforms.
Does the little girl have a pink sword?
No, but she wears like but her fucking like princess like royal outfit looks like an idol uniform, which maybe tells you something about, I don't know, the direction this show might actually be taking.
Oh man, is there gonna be dancing robots?
So me and Iro, when we were watching this, thought this is what was actually going to happen, because this show opens up with her giving her speech, her like her inauguration speech, and the audience is waiting in a concert hall style auditorium where they're waving the like idol glow sticks.
For what?
Oh man!
And so we thought, oh, her speech is going to be a song, right? Like that's what's going to happen. Is the traditional fucking royal inauguration speech is going to be an idol performance or something? But they don't actually do that, which then makes the idol trappings all the more confusing, I suppose.
I don't know if that's better or worse.
Yeah, it's weird.
Seem like fun enough or like dumb enough.
No. Here's the thing, right? Like there are a couple glimmers of kind of self-awareness where it kind of leads into like, there are a couple places where like the characters rightfully point out that like the hot-blooded male mecha pilot who's like the princess's like childhood friend / bodyguard is like a hot-headed dumbass who kind of just literally says the same like canned one-liner over and over again. Like I think roughly 50% of his dialogue is just guts and willpower. And there are parts where like one of the characters literally like states that, hey, do we actually need a monarchy? Like, what are monarchies good for? And there's a part of me that, having watched Legend of the Galactic Heroes, was like fucking waving my FPA flag over here and be like, yeah, hell yeah, fucking destroy this rotten institution.
Just remember, G, children or adults 10 and over can be executed.
Oh no, Reinhardt's gonna kill her. She's 12.
Yeah, she's over the age of 10. She's valid for Reinhardt's purge.
She's gonna seize power, and yeah. Oh man.
But so the thing I would say, I don't want to go on too long about The Price of Smiles, but the thing that almost kind of saves it for me is that, like, it's CG mechs, so, you know, but they're not terrible looking. Like, they kind of do this kind of pretty slick cel-shaded style that I think works pretty well in motion, and there are a couple shots in it that kind of almost look like pretty solid 2D action. So, you know, the mech fights aren't bad. I mean, it's the first episode, so, like, honestly, if that's the best they ever look in this show, then that's not a great sign, but they looked good enough, you know, and, like, the fight in the first episode was, like, two pilots, you know, basically getting into Gundam build fighters, like, fucking virtual reality pods.
Really?
And, like, fighting it out, and, like, the idea was that, like, it was a 1v1, but each commanded a squad of, like, 5 AI-controlled, like, you know, robot squad members. So, like, there was kind of, like, a lip service to, like, squad tactics and, like, you know, setting up flanking and firing lines, and, you know, my brand of bullshit.
Right.
The thing that I think might, again, I said might, I'm not saying I like this show, but the thing that might keep me around is, early in the episode when the princess is, like, you know, dealing with, like, the politics and stuff, one of her, like, her top, like, general lieutenant guys, like, we had a meeting with the neighboring empire to discuss diplomacy and, you know, renewing our non-aggression pact. And the prince is like, oh, good, that's wonderful. I'm so glad we don't have to go to war. And then the last 5 minutes of the episode reveals that actually, no, the military brass of this kingdom have actually just been, like, covertly hiding that actually there is kind of a raging border skirmish happening on the border of the kingdom this entire time, and that they're essentially just keeping the princess in the dark because they essentially realize that, like, actually, no, yes, we call you the princess, and we're going to let you wave to the crowd, but actually you don't have any say in how we're actually running things when it comes to, like, warfare.
Yeah, I was gonna mention when I was reading the promo, it's the description said it was actually going to be about 2 characters. There was the princess, and then far off on another planet there was, like, this, like, woman pilot or something that was going to also be one of the main characters. And I don't know, it sounds like she maybe didn't factor into episode 1, but maybe, like, episode 2 will be about her, and we kind of get the bigger picture. So it sounds like there's, like, more stuff going on than is originally led on in the...
Yeah, I think that's kind of my feeling is, I don't know if it's all necessarily going to be good, but the first episode at least hinted enough at, like, okay, there's more going on here than the initial saccharine, like, you know, little girl princess, you know, shenanigans, I guess, so to speak. Like,
right.
Again, I can only guess this based purely on the promo material and, like, what shows up in, like, the ED sequence, but it seems to imply that they're going to do almost I'm not making this comparison lightly, and I'm not implying that these are to be compared at all, but maybe they're doing a Legend of the Galactic Heroes style, like,
dual protagonist.
You know, like, dueling protagonists, like, let's examine both sides of this conflict sort of thing.
Well, that'd be interesting.
You know, because...
So does it turn out the little girl is actually Reinhardt?
I'm not joking. That might... I mean, the problem is that both kingdoms are inherently autocratic. One is called a kingdom, the other is called an empire. Oh, okay. So, you know, not a great look for either parties here, but...
Right.
But yes, the enemy, the quote-unquote enemy side, or the side opposing the kingdom, seem to be very much more in the style of, like, you know, Earth Federation style, like, uniforms and aesthetics, so...
Right.
That might be actually what we're getting to a certain extent here.
Oh, man. That's going to be anime of the year 2019, right?
I truly do not believe this show has the chops for that, but it's hinting at just enough stuff on the periphery that I feel like I need to at least see it to sate my curiosity.
Well, you know, like, even the title is, like, The Price of Smiles. Like, what... If you really, like, think about what that would mean, that it just implies that there's some heavy stuff going on in the background or something, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, I don't think. I mean,
But-
truly, because of the way the show looks and is presented, I truly don't think that's happening. But if it does, I would be very pleasantly surprised.
I mean, it sounds like it at least merits another episode to see
Yeah.
the full scope of what they're going for, or try anyway. And then, be that good or bad, it sounds like they're at least doing more than what was on the surface level, possibly.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, let's keep moving along. I think this show might have just come out or something, but obviously we haven't watched it yet. I have no idea how you're supposed to pronounce the title. Is it
Wiz? W's?
It's spelled W apostrophe Z, which is
Yeah. It sounds like Wiz.
I got nothing, man.
So I'm going to give you the pitch. I'm going to give you the description of the show, which is basically
Oh, good.
a YouTube DJ gets mixed up in.
Oh, this is starting off great already.
Gets mixed up in some kind of like techno magic sword fighting tournament thing or something. Which,
As you do.
Which, okay, that sounds like it could be all right. But
sure.
I kind of wasn't want to talk about this because then I saw it was made by GoHands. I'm like, GoHands, where have I heard that before?
Oh boy.
And then I remembered that their last. Okay, so GoHands originally came onto the scene with the anime series and eventually movie series K, if you all remember that, which is strangely popular. It was like
that's a word for it.
Yeah, there is a fan base for that series, believe it or not. But they've mostly been working on K movies, but the last TV series they did was Handshakers. And I don't know if you guys remember that one.
I remember seeing screen caps from it.
Yeah. So some people have put Handshakers in the discussion for worst anime of all time, which might be maybe a little harsh. I think you could definitely make a case for it being the most ugly.
Yeah, definitely most poorly produced. I mean,
they have
it's.
Go ahead, G.
Just the clips I've seen of that show make fucking Golden Kamui look competent. It's. I mean, here's the thing, right? Making anything is hard, right? Anime, video games, whatever. Like, it's any production is difficult because it requires a huge amount of people and talent and resources going into it. But something about Handshakers just fucking something real rotten must have happened in the production of that one, because I don't think I've ever seen an anime series implode so hard as that one.
Well, so there's that, and also, and it's interesting. I just saw, like, literally right as we were getting on, I think the guy from Sakuga blog tweeted out some like screenshots reminding us that GoHands is terrible, and a lot of it, it's not even just like the technical execution, but they make very deliberate design choices that are hideous. Like,
right, that's kind of really the thing is.
They're basically like vomiting patterns and colors over everything. It's very it's unique. I'll give them that. You can recognize it. It's pretty distinct.
I mean, I think the problem is that, like, it's almost like they're trying to go for like the what's it called, the Gankutsuo style, like surreal, digital filters thing, except with like none of the nuance and none of the artistic sensibility.
No, it's like they're literally pasting like patterns, like that they made like a Photoshop pattern and like plastered it onto like as a texture on this on the walls or whatever,
like a mask layer or something.
And it looks like that whatever style is carrying over into this new show, which is not a good sign, as well as the technical quality. I watched the trailer and it looks disgusting. So I don't know how somebody gave them a second chance at doing this. I mean, but
at some point I can only assume it's just the K money, right? You said it was popular, which surprised me, but I guess I'm looking this up now. They made like fucking 8 movies or something. Like,
Yeah,
holy shit!
it's got a fan base. Yeah, and I think we don't hear about it as much because it's been movies after the initial.
Yeah, I mean, for better or worse, the only thing I can ever really say about K is that A, it should have been called Wizard Gang Wars, and B, it should have been about Wizard Gang Wars instead of like
Maybe
whatever
that's what this
bullshit it actually
title
ended
is
up being
abbreviating. Maybe that's what the title is abbreviating.
Yeah, Wizard Gang
Yes.
Wars. Maybe we can only hope. But I guess that's the confusing thing because like I didn't stick with K, but like K looked decent in places. Like it had its like weird digital filters thing going on. Like it had some really weird lighting choices, but otherwise it was a solid looking anime.
Yeah,
I mean, it had some really nice shots here and there. So
yeah, that like weird like putting like purple and blue and whatever lighting all over the place.
Yeah, they had some like really weird digital filters, but like animation wise and like for the most part, that show looked fine.
Yeah, it did look
So
pretty decent. Yeah, I feel like
I guess I wonder like
go ahead.
I wonder who's greenlighting all these like filters and stuff. Like who's like, yes, the culmination of my final vision. Ugly digital filters.
I don't know, man. Yeah, I feel like the filters in K. See, that was the thing. Like they were like acceptable there. They were kind of weird, but it's like all right, well, it's kind of like a unique look or whatever. And then I feel like in the successive shows here in Handshakers and now in this new show, they took it like to the next level. Where like all right, let's add all these patterns and other colors and stuff in there. Like okay, now you've gone too far. But it's just so weird that this is like an actual like deliberate choice. that somebody thought was a good idea, not just in one series, but now in another series or whatever. But
I mean, like you said, I am very confused how a show like this gets greenlit. But you know what? Like fucking 50 anime get greenlit every season, and they're not all going to be winners. So you know,
yeah. At least this one isn't because I think Handshakers was a Oni-chan show for lack of a better description. At least this one doesn't seem to be that. So maybe we're already.
Don't give it time. Give it time. I'm sure they can find a way to string that back in.
Yeah, I haven't actually watched it yet, so we'll see. All right, let's move away from that hot garbage onto something that might actually end up being pretty good.
Or at least we hope so.
It might be. We'll see. But we're talking about Dororo, which is the latest version retelling or whatever of the Osamu Tezuka manga. I have no familiarity with this, G, but you're familiar with the source at all?
I wish Iro were here because
I think we had planned on having Iro on, like I said, but he's no longer with us.
He would be the one to really help explain this. But basically, Dororo is, and yes, as you said, an adaptation of an old Osamu Tezuka manga. And in that very, because here's the thing, right? We all know Tezuka for, Astro Boy and fucking Kimba the White Lion and shit, right? Like, the lighter fare. But Tezuka always had, a very, if you're familiar with, Blackjack, you know that Tezuka kind of always had, a kind of a... He could go weird and dark when he wanted to, and I think Dororo is kind of more in that vein. Basically, it's about an orphan boy who has all of his limbs and organs and shit sacrificed to demons, and but he gets rescued by a kindly doctor who builds him a prosthetic body, and he teams up with a traveling thief / swordsman to basically travel the countryside and beat the shit out of those demons to get his body parts back.
So
which
I assume there has to be some kind of supernatural thing, he's able to phantomly control these limbs, or is it actually the machine is doing all the work?
Iro could probably explain it better, but I'm going to be frank here. Dororo is operating on the same kind of fucking medical magic science that Blackjack was. That's kind of the assumption you have to take here, is that
probably best not to think too hard about it.
Right.
Right. It's fantastical in a way where I'm sure there's actually an explanation in universe for how he controls his prosthetic body, but
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Because, I mean, here's the thing, right? They're fighting the demons to get his body parts back. So that means, I assume, that once they get his body parts back, they're reattaching them to him?
That's what I was thinking.
Like, how the fuck does that work? Like, you know.
Be like,
again, I'd say don't think about it too much.
I forgot, Marlin, did you watch Ixion Saga way back in the day?
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about the ending when they they do the ball transfer.
Right.
The magical balls transfer.
Mm-hmm.
Oh god, that show was ridiculous. So anyway,
certainly not the weirdest Magitech out there.
Yes. So yeah, I think everybody at least has their eyes on this. It is being done by MAPPA, which is always, I think that we can depend on MAPPA to do good work at this point, regardless of the.
Yeah, I think that's probably the more. Yeah, I'm interested in the premise and the lineage, but I think MAPPA's involvement is probably the actually interesting thing about this production.
Yeah, they've kind of established themselves as one of the most consistently at least from a technical standpoint, quality studios out there, and they tend to pick. They've picked mostly. I say mostly because Rage of Bahamut Virgin Soul exists. They tend to pick mostly interesting, kind of different content. And actually,
MAPPA is pretty has a pretty diverse output when you really look at what they've made.
They did. You know what? Now I'm thinking about it, they did do an Idol show once, didn't they? I'd have to go back and check.
I totally forget.
I'd have to go back and check the tape on that one. But that aside, for the most part, they've picked kind of very interesting, like you said, diverse material. And I'm always interested to see what they're doing. And I don't know why. I still feel like they should have been the ones to do Golden Kamuy out of everyone.
Oh, yes. I mean, look,
I don't know why I just felt like that.
Shouldn't have even...
I don't know why that just felt
shouldn't have even brought it up.
I'm sorry, but I don't know why I felt like out of all the studios, because you could pick somebody else like Bones or somebody, but for some reason I felt like MAPPA should have been the ones to do.
Oh, totally. No, I completely agree.
To the point where if you recall back when we did the preview podcast, I'm like, isn't MAPPA doing this for some reason? I actually thought in my brain,
God, I wish.
Yeah, but
since you're gonna open up that old wound, I promise to keep it under 2 minutes. But no, I'll just say that yes, yes, we say that MAPPA has a diverse output, but definitely the kind of vibe, quote unquote, that MAPPA gives off as a studio, I think would have been perfect for a story like Golden Kamuy. And I think that's why when we hear about Dororo getting adapted by MAPPA, that's kind of why we also feel like, oh, that's a perfect fit.
Right.
I don't know a ton about Dororo, but the premise of, oh, this traveling swordsman who inhabits a prosthetic body traveling with a little orphan boy to go hunt down 40 demons to reclaim his body parts. It's actually kind of similar to Golden Kamuy.
Yeah, I was going to say half that plot kind of overlaps with Golden Kamuy anyway.
Right. So it definitely feels like a good fit for the studio.
Yeah. Well, can't go back and change it now, I guess. But
yeah.
Did while we're briefly on the tangent, did the second season of Golden Kamuy, did that go any better? I don't know if we ever actually talked about it.
I mean, here's the thing. I have kept up with it, and, at this point, it's the only reason I don't talk about it much is because, frankly, the pain has numbed me, right? It can't surprise me with its, with its mediocrity anymore. But, it's a thing where it technically adapts things accurately, but I think the actual sin it's committing now is, they're just skipping a lot of chapters, actually. They're skipping, because I guess in the sense of, we got to get to, the bigger plot points. They've been skipping, things that you could argue are quote-unquote filler or, side chapters, but I think are actually super important to fleshing out the characters. And they're just kind of, glossing over them, which, in addition to that show's already, at best, workman-like adaptation, is just, just kind of a shame.
Yeah.
But,
oh well.
We don't need to spend more time on that here.
Yeah. All right. I was mostly just...
Read the Golden Kamuy
I was mostly just stalling for time because I don't want to talk about the next show.
We should get to this.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I just want to again, this is maybe more of a PSA warning for everybody out there. The hot new isekai show of the upcoming season is The Rising of the Shield Hero, which actually the first episode I think has been out for a while. Crunchyroll has really been hyping it up and put out like the episode out early.
I mean, like no hate to Crunchyroll, but they know what side they know what side of the bread their butter's on. Like, the Shield Hero is going to be their next Goblin Slayer. It's their next Overlord.
Right.
Like, it's their next Sword Art Online.
Like you saw them. I don't know. Did any of you guys see the maps for like most watched show?
I don't want to think about that, man.
Yeah.
Like in a fucking season that was like as generally strong as last season.
Not a single state was watching anything more than Goblin Slayer.
Look,
all of Western.
To all our listeners out there, if we ever sound a little like, fucking, hostile to anime fandom as a whole, like, understand, y'all completely earned it. You deserve it. Like, fucking...
Yeah.
I can't even be diplomatic, man. If all y'all are watching Goblin Slayer and calling it this fucking grand achievement in anime storytelling,
no.
Sometimes
I'm not backing down.
Just say nothing
I'm
at all.
not backing down on that one. There's other shows I may be like, all right, fine. It's I don't like it, but whatever. I'm not backing down on that one, and I'm not going to back down on this one either. As far as, you know what, I could go over the plot of the Shield Hero thing, but you already know it. It's the same as every other light novel garbage, except this time they apparently shoehorned in some false rape accusation or something that makes the main hero a bitter and obnoxious asshole.
Wow, very sympathetic.
Yes, and I have no desire to give this thing the time of the day, and I don't think anybody else should, so just consider this more so of a warning.
But Gel, don't you know that, unlike most series, in this one, the hero uses a shield.
Yes,
so
because the
actually,
shield
he's
is
the weakest.
Yes, because of all the heroes, like the sword hero and the bow hero and all that stuff, the shield hero is the weakest one. But of course, he's actually the best.
Right. Let the bingo begin.
I don't look like I know. Here's the thing, right? Okay, I don't want to like rant about the show too much because it's just going to turn to a general rant about isekai. But like, I feel like at this point, I feel like even amongst isekai fans, right? If you're an isekai fan, if you've watched multiple of these shows,
you gotta be tired of it by now, right? Is that?
Surely you are right. Like, surely you are tired of the trope of, this character has the weakest power or the weakest ability, but secretly he knows how to use it in a way nobody else has thought of, and it makes him the strongest. Like, this has been done so many times. Like, at this point, I'd almost be happier if the character just fucking showed up and like, actually, I got the best powers, like, fucking sue me. Actually, no, isekai does that too, and it's just as bad. Fuck it. Ugh.
Yeah.
The whole genre is just, like, permanently compromised in a way that cannot be redeemed.
Yeah. I think the only positive I might take away from this is I think this is the only show of this type this season. I feel like normally we get like 2 or 3, so maybe I don't know, maybe there's some hope that the craze will die down. But yeah, I just don't understand. Like you said, G, like, I understand why these shows get popular, but I don't understand how people can watch like 5 in a row. Like, at some point, it's the same thing every time.
Yeah.
So whatever. Sense. Let's just keep moving on. Don't watch that show. So the next show, I couldn't find an actual real title. This is the literal translation, and I'm not going to try to attempt the Japanese one because it's super long. The literal translation is "My housemate is on my lap, but sometimes on my head," referring to a cat. This show is about...
Well, less so.
This show is about a author who takes in a stray cat, and I guess the show shifts perspectives between the owner and the cat as they kind of, as their friendship and relationship grows together. And it looks surprisingly serious based on the trailer. Like, I have a feeling this is
serious.
I have a feeling this is gonna catch a lot of comparisons to She and My Cat, if you remember that.
Oh, okay.
That was the short directed by Makoto Shinkai, which was actually pretty good, and arguably my personal favorite thing Makoto Shinkai did, because I don't really like him that much. But this actually, it's like I said, this kind of felt similar, because like the trailer actually seemed kind of a bit dramatic. There was a lot of like people crying and stuff like that. And the flip side, this is not directed by Makoto Shinkai, so it's not quite as nice to look at.
Right.
But I don't know.
I mean, I haven't seen any of this show, but what you described, I mean, you know what? After talking about Shield Hero, that shit sounds all right.
That is exactly.
I'll watch a show about a dude hanging out with his cat.
Yeah.
That is exactly what I said when I was writing up the preview guide. I was like, you know what? I'll take it. Based on all this other trash I've been looking at.
Sure.
So, yeah, we'll see. And, if it does turn out like She and My Cat, that would be a victory, because that was actually pretty good. I don't know if you guys actually watched that.
No.
But,
I never got around to it. But.
Yeah, it's not only a short, but it's also only like 4 episodes, I think. So it's literally like 35 minutes or something like that. So and it's on Crunchyroll, so I recommend everybody check that out at some point. It's a little corny at the end, kind of the same way anything Makoto Shinkai does is sort of overly sentimental, but still pretty good. Moving along. So this is another kind of, one of the most anticipated shows of the season is the adaptation of the Promised Neverland, which is a pretty popular manga. And I don't know a whole lot about this, so G, I might defer to you, but it basically looks like Prison Break with kids.
Yeah, that's, you know what, like, as a one-sentence description, that's basically correct. Yes, this is kind of the latest high-profile Weekly Shonen Jump adaptation. I'm not going to say, oh, this is going to, blow up to My Hero Academia levels, but I think there is definitely a fair amount of anticipation for this one. Long story short, Promised Neverland is about, it primarily focuses on a trio of kids who live at an orphanage. And in this orphanage, they're under the care of a woman they call Mother. And these kids kind of live a perfect, idyllic life. They're fed, and they have clean clothes and a perfect environment to train them into weird, super omnidisciplinary geniuses. More on that part later. And kind of like life is perfect for them. And they live at this orphanage, always looking forward to the day when they will grow old enough to finally be adopted and live in the outside world of the orphanage. And, if you've watched any number of either if you've read any young adult, dystopian fiction, or watched any sci-fi original dystopian TV shows or whatever, obviously you eventually figure out there is a dark secret to the orphanage. And, here's the thing. I'm not sure how much I want to spoil here, because I'm going to be honest, this is stuff. Everything I'm talking about is in the first chapter, and in many ways, I almost feel like if I actually reveal the twist, maybe that actually gets people more interested in it. But I'll just say that they find out that there's some real ratchet shit happening to the orphans that leave the orphanage.
That's not surprising.
Yeah, I don't know, G. I don't know if you've watched the trailer, but there is a bit in the trailer that strongly implies that, so I don't think that's particularly shocking.
Oh, okay, so they're already revealing that, then yes, some really bad shit is happening to these kids.
Nothing detailed, they just kind of strongly imply as the kids are being taken away, something's not right.
And long story short, okay, well, that's good. I haven't watched the trailer. Here's the thing, not to go on to another tangent, but okay, maybe some fans might get mad at me for this, but the thing I'm going to say honestly, like truly honestly, my personal feelings about The Promised Neverland is if the adaptation is good, The Promised Neverland is going to have a fantastic first season and maybe a second season. And if it goes on any longer than that, people are going to start realizing that maybe that show didn't have as many fresh ideas as people were hoping.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
you mentioned.
Sorry, go ahead.
You mentioned it's a Shonen Jump series. Is that so?
Yes, actually, a fairly high profile one,
but
too.
But it's not like
which is kind of
it's
notable.
not like obviously
It's not
a battle shonen type of thing like that you normally or is it? I don't know.
So here's the
maybe
thing.
Maybe I'm saying too much. I don't know.
I don't want to talk about The Promised Neverland as a whole as someone who's regularly reading it. The thing I will maybe say is, the first parts of that manga are really fantastic, very compelling because it's about a prison break. So I guess to try and return to the main plot, basically a trio of kids discover the dark secret of the orphanage, and they begin trying to plot a way to escape. And here's the thing, they slowly begin to realize that, oh, actually Mother, the one who takes care of them, is also definitely not who she seems to be. And
makes sense.
There's kind of this really good, really compelling, like, psychological thriller aspect of the story because they need to, like, simultaneously, like, plan their escape, hide their escape from everybody else because they don't know who can be trusted in the orphanage, and pretend everything is fine because Mother quickly finds out that somebody knows the secret. She doesn't know who, but she knows somebody knows the secret. And these are smart kids. They are specifically trained to become, like, weird super geniuses. So, like, she knows these kids, like, are competent and they're not to be underestimated. But she also has to maintain the facade that everything is fine because, as far as she can tell, only a couple kids know the truth. And there's some really great, like, psychological horror moments in the early parts of this manga about, like, maintaining the facade and, like, you know, just the sheer psychological pressure that puts on people. Like, these kids are, like, fucking 11 or 12, maybe even younger. Like, they're not adults by any stretch of imagination. Like, sure, they're smart, but they're still kids. And it's really a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun just, like, watching them slowly compile, like, okay, for the next part of our breakout plan, we need this, this, and this. But how do we get this? Like, the only place we can get this is, like, you know, monitored by Mother 24/7. So we need to, like, basically set up another kid in the orphanage who doesn't know the truth to basically, like, you know,
be a fall guy,
be a viable, be a fall guy, but he won't actually take the fall because he definitely doesn't know anything about the truth. So at worst, he'll get a reprimand, but, like, you know, even if they try to, like, interrogate him, he'll have nothing to reveal or something. There's a lot of, like, good stuff like that going on in it. And I think, like, for better or worse, like, there's a reason why the best Prison Break stories end with the prison break. For better or worse, The Promised Neverland does not end with the prison break. And I think the post-prison break stuff is generally not as strong. It's not as compelling. There are definitely interesting aspects of it. And, you know, it definitely doesn't go full battle shonen. You know, these kids don't suddenly gain, like, you know, fucking DBZ powers or anything like that. You know, it's just, it definitely becomes a little bit more conventional after the prison break. But
yeah, well,
again, that's all stuff that's not happening till, like, season 2 or later.
Yeah.
So, like, in terms of the anime and what we're probably going to get out of this, I'm definitely looking forward to it. You know, as long as the adaptation is solid, I think The Promised Neverland is definitely going to be one worth paying attention to. You know, it is published in Weekly Shonen Jump, but, like, it's so different from most other Shonen Jump series. You know, I mean, the main protagonist is a girl. Like, it's unequivocally, like, it's a trio, but the most important character out of that trio is a girl, which I think for a shonen manga is pretty noteworthy in and of
Yeah,
itself.
that's pretty cool. Just speaking to adaptation, it is being done by Cloverworks, who is a spin-off studio of A1 Pictures, and they just did their
Right.
first they did like their first, like, they were the lead on it show last season, which was the Bunny Girl Senpai show, and that show looked really nice.
Yeah.
Okay,
It was
that's
up to
good to hear.
up to standard of, top, because A1 can be up or down, but when they're like their A game, like SAO A game is pretty good, and it was up in that territory.
Right.
So that's encouraging, at least.
Yeah, that's good to hear, because I think for better or worse, like, the fear with Weekly Shonen Jump anime adaptations is like, I think we all got spoiled by My Hero Academia. We forgot that, like, how bad adaptations can actually be. Like, in a lot of ways, My Hero Academia was
Right.
blessed by, getting bones attached to it, and not only bones, but like 18 bones. So I think a lot of other Shonen Jump adaptations haven't been nearly as solid. So to hear that a pretty solid, reliable studio is working on that is encouraging to hear.
Yeah, well, they've only done, like I said, one show where they were the lead studio, but
Well.
it is tied to A1, which has a consistent track record, at least for like their top shows. So I think at least from the technical aspects, that's probably a safe bet. All right. Well, we'll be looking forward to that one. So let's start. We're getting close to the end here. And I'm going to lump these next two shows together because they're both basically girls and airplanes, but two pretty different takes on it. The first one is Girly Air Force. That is literally...
Which is the most fucking in-your-face title
Right.
you could come
literally
up with.
The title. I think in this one, the girls turn into airplanes.
Wait, is that what happens?
Yes. So actually, I'm going to just literally read the description here, because this is probably... I don't think I can do it better justice.
Oh my god, you're actually...
In order to fight the creatures, however, mankind creates fighter aircraft called Daughters, as well as the automatic fighting mechanism Anima, which are shaped like human girls. Okay, so maybe they still fly the planes, or I don't know, whatever. It sounds like a gacha game setup in reality, but which is probably what it will be. Or maybe slightly... we're starting to get into Strike Witch's territory, maybe. That's but at least these girls have pants, but that's another discussion. So that's one take on the Girly Air Force concept, literally Girly Air Force.
Yeah.
The other show is what is the actual title? The localized title that I found was The Magnificent Kotobuki. I think there's probably a couple different ways that could end up being named. But this is actually a show about, like, a squadron of cool ladies flying old-fashioned looking airplanes.
Right.
Actual planes.
Which looks pretty... Well, okay. It sounds pretty cool until you realize it's done by the studio that did the recent CG adaptation of Berserk.
Oh,
no. And
no, that's... No,
all right.
no,
sorry,
no! You can't!
I'm ruining it for you.
You can't do that! Like, I knew the planes were CG, but...
No, it's not just the planes, unfortunately.
Oh, no, that's... That's no good.
So here's my question I put out to you guys, because the first show, Girly Air Force, is hand drawn for the most part, other than the planes. It looks actually pretty good.
Yeah, but it's being
done by Satellite, who they can be up or down, but when they bring their A game, they make nice stuff. They make Macross. I mean, when they do their A.
Yeah, like I said, they can be hit or miss. They made Macross.
Yes, Macross itself, their Macross adaptations themselves are hit or miss in like within the series itself. But yes, they can make things look nice though when they're when they bring their A game. And the trailer for Girly Air Force, technical quality wise, looks pretty good. So, do you take the nice looking show with the stupid premise, or the ugly show with the better premise?
Oh my god, this is some real Sophie's Choice shit. Jesus. God, here's the thing, right? Like, I actually not paid that close attention to who was making what, like, because both premises literally sounded like the fake anime that was made in the PA
Yes.
Works anime.
Well, that's the
Shirobako.
joke. That's the joke going around. But yes,
Right. That's the joke that was going around. So for a while, I had actually assumed, PA Works is making that show.
no.
Like, and I was like, well, PA Works does solid stuff. Like, between Shirobako and, like, you know, Series the Jaeger, like, they're actually good at both, like, girls doing professional things and, like, cool action. But finding out that I got to choose between fucking Satellite and Gemba, like, that's some raw dog shit, son. Shit, that's like, I was originally about to lead off this conversation like, well, I think the Magnificent Kotobuki looks interesting, you know, and I've always been a little concerned about the usage of World War II era imagery in Japanese fiction. You know, they are explicitly flying Hayabusa planes, which, you know, not as iconic as the Zero, but still, you know, one of the most utilized planes by the Imperial Japanese during World War II. And that I'm always going to have some weird feelings about that, even if the setting has nothing to do with World War II. But, like, in the light of the news of who's making the studio, that shit doesn't matter anymore. Like, this is a far more grave situation than I had assumed.
So I just want to clarify real quick. Part of the joke with the Shirobako as well is, so this the CG show, I already forgot the title, is directed and written by the same people that made Shirobako. Even though it's not PA Works making it.
And they take all the unironic lessons and not all the satire.
What a truly,
you know,
what a truly confounding situation.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Do you take the like I said? Do you take the nice looking bad show or the bad looking nice show?
So here's the thing. I assume you assigned both of them to me already, right?
I did not. I didn't give you Girly Air Force. I think I'm doing that, or I gave that to somebody else.
Just I haven't even looked at the assignment schedule yet, so I just assumed, all right, just give me both of those so I could just compare.
You're welcome to join
on
post regardless, but yes.
My general feeling then is like, the one I'm more willing to give a shot is probably the what's it called, the our current title, The Magnificent Kotobuki, just because the show itself probably won't look good, but like the art is nice based on the promo images I've seen. Like, it looks more interesting, I guess.
It has nice art direction.
Yeah, and like the director, if it is the director and staff or people who did work on Shirobako, like, Shirobako was some might call it 2015's best anime. You know, it's Shirobako was fantastic, really excellent piece of work, but also it was a very great specific kind of work. I feel like for better or worse, like, this is so different and in many ways more conventional that I don't know if the same talent and pedigree really carries over.
Right.
Fucking Studio Gemba? Yeah. Fucking seriously? Jesus.
Yep.
What the like, I would have taken, like, the guys who do, like, the Knights of Sidonia anime.
Yeah, what is,
like, you know, that shit's all
what is
CG,
I forget the name of their studio.
I always forget their name.
Yeah.
It's
no idea.
Like, I don't know,
yeah,
man.
There's a couple, or like, what's the other, the one that did Boogiepop? Is it the...
That's Studio Orange, I believe. I think they're the ones who did no. Studio Orange did Majestic Prince.
I'll look it up real quick.
Sure. Googling stuff is great.
Sans again, yes. Sans again. That's I couldn't think of the name. Yeah.
Sans again,
I didn't take them.
Yeah.
I take them over.
I don't know, man. Yeah. Gemba is That's a raw deal. I'm, this is gonna make for great radio. I literally have not even watched the PV yet. Hold on a second.
Don't do it, G. It's not worth it. It's not
Yeah,
worth
it's-
it.
It's not worth the time.
These. Oh no!
So anyway,
no.
that is sad because I actually think that might have been like a fun show.
Oh
Had that-
no!
Had that actually been made.
Oh jeez!
Had that actually been made by viewers?
Is that Pancakes TG? Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Fucking toss them both out, I guess. Really,
maybe that'll be the real answer. Yeah,
maybe that's
I
I
am willing to I'm willing to overlook a lot when it comes to visuals, perhaps maybe even more so than most everybody else on the blog. But when you come out looking like a PS2 cutscene, it's hard for me to. You'd have to be a pretty damn charming show for me to for me to want to watch that. So I don't know. Well, we'll have to we'll check it out, but it's not looking good. All right, so let's wrap things up here with one more show we want to talk about. So while we're at disappointing G here, let's throw one more final blow at you here. Let's talk about Magical Girl Special Ops Asuka. So this is a show about magical girls with guns.
This is like a show that was fucking tailor-made for me, and they still fucked it up somehow.
Oh man,
that's anime in a nutshell, G.
Yes, good ideas that don't pan out. Well, we haven't actually seen it yet, right? Okay, now you know what? I'm sorry, I can't even.
No, you're right.
I can't even drum up the false optimism. I've watched the trailer. So the idea is, yes, it's magical girls with guns. Apparently, this group of magical girls took out whatever big threat years ago, and now it's several years later, and our main character, who's gone on to live her normal life, gets sucked back in and is asked once again to lead her squad of magical girls to fight whatever big.
Oh man, so good!
Sounds
like
great.
The premise is
apparently,
so good.
I don't know how the magic works in with the guns, but they have like real guns, and
it sounds so good.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good, and I don't know, man. I think So watching the trailer, first thing, it doesn't look great, but again, I could probably overcome that if they landed the premise. I think what we're going to get is a show that takes itself way too seriously.
Kind of like that, like Sword Guys one?
Probably.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't even know which one you're talking about, dude. Sword Guys anime.
Sword Guys Gotcha anime, which I guess there's not even only one of those.
Oh, Token Rambu?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, the funny thing with Token Rambu, though, is they actually made two different shows. One was like the gotcha joke show, and then one was like the deadly serious one. So at least that had like pick your flavor, right?
Right.
This just looks like it. I have a feeling it's going to be like they're going to go dark and edgy and bloody and violent and everything. And not like in a good. Well, I mean, you can do that, but when you're trying to like be too serious and like I said, lean on the edge and stuff. Like you can have the violence and everything, whatever. But I have a feeling
there's a way to lean into it, and I think it's just we don't have the confidence that this show has the chops.
I'm not getting that impression based on watching the trailer at least. So
it's, like I won't lie. Like maybe a part of the reason why I'm so like skeptical / down on this show is because not to shill my own shit, but like I think I literally drew this premise.
You had a better version. You had a better version of the show years ago.
Yes,
that you came up with.
Like I have entertained the concept of like spec ops magical girls that are like trained and conscripted into the military, and but I think that kind of premise is like so outlandish, it's so over the top that you have to lean into the audacity of it. Like the sheer audacity of the idea of like giving, a magic girl like fucking, tactical gear and like a night vision, goggles and an assault rifle. Like it's, you know, fucking like, unlimited blade work style, like just summoning guns out of magic circles and shit. Like it's such an absurd premise that like, at least personally, the way I approached it when I drew it on my own, like it's not a thing you could take seriously. Like this can't be fucking like Apocalypse Now, but
Right.
with magic girls. Like it's not gonna work. Like it's too absurd. It's impossible to
I
take
think
seriously.
part of the problem with what you're saying with taking it seriously, like in your concept, they actually had like the tactical gear and stuff like that. This one, they're just magical. They're literally magical girls with the frilly, colorful outfits and everything, and they just hand them like an AR-15 or something. Like it's.
Yeah, that's kind of the aspect. It's a little too incongruous. Like, there's probably a way to pull
Like
this
if you
off.
were gonna make a serious version of this, it would have to be like grounded in reality, where they're actually like wearing the tactical gear and stuff. Like those outfits are not practical. Like magical girls in just in their nature are not like practical or grounded in reality at all. So like
yeah, I mean, not to play not to play armchair art director, because again, maybe I've had my own approach to this, but like, it's like it's a thing of like there's even a way you could still do it. Like you could almost pull take a page out of fucking Gun Gale Online or whatever that latest anime spinoff was, where like you can have them wear tactical gear and it could just be like bright blue and pink, to like emphasize the magic girl aspect. You can put like little cute bow ties on their like ammo their ammo bags and stuff. But like you can lean into that. It's just like when you just design them as like literally like just stereotypical style magic girls, it's just you hand a gun or a knife in their hand. It
that's the other thing. The main girl actually doesn't have a gun. She has like a knife or something, which.
Right, like that's the other thing, right? It's like it's not even that fucking tactical.
That's a very poor tactic.
What if it's a ballistics knife?
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's a real, it's as you guys said, anime, great concepts that have been disappointing me since the dawn of time is anime in a nutshell. And I'll give this a couple episodes, but I feel like this is going to be no different from, a million other anime that I checked out because the premise was cool, only to find out that they totally shit it up.
Yep. Okay, well,
really ended on a high note.
On that positive, I'll go. So sorry, Marlin. Did you have one more thing to add?
Actually, I was thinking, were we going to talk about that? Was it Kaguya-sama show?
Oh yeah, you know what? I didn't actually add that because I didn't really know what it was. But do you want to talk about it real quick?
That's one that just piqued my interest. Yeah, there's not a whole lot out about it yet, but it's just got, I think, all of the hallmarks of a classic like Gel and Marlin rom-com that we would enjoy. Because like it's
right. It's gonna be one of those.
Reading this now, like this is your fucking show.
Yeah, it's gonna be one of those like B-list comedies that nobody but me and Marlin ever watch.
Probably. Because like I guess the premise is like there's these two students in the school. I think they're like in the student council or something like that, and they're basically in a game of brinksmanship in order to force the other one to confess first because they think that confession is a sign of weakness.
Okay.
And they are both apparently like geniuses or something, so they're constantly trying to outsmart each other.
I'm willing to give it a shot.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like something we would enjoy. I'm feeling a little burned after Boarding School Juliet last season, which is not exactly the similar concept, but
it could be
that same genre, I think. So
I guess we'll find out.
I don't want to judge Kaguya-sama on the sins of past shows here, but definitely worth checking out. And it's being done by A1 again, as we were saying before. So they're
decent quality.
They usually do solid work. I haven't actually watched the trailer for it yet. I did read about it earlier, but Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that one, and maybe that can join our list of obscure comedies that we try to get everybody to watch.
Right.
I don't know, man. I mean, just looking and reading this description, like, yes, this very much seems like one of your guys'
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
not gonna be
shows,
for
but
everyone.
I don't know, man. Even my
Yeah.
story, this ain't, you know?
Well, yes, that's a very high bar. Maybe we can get it to like, if we could be like to the same level of like this art club has a problem or something, then I'd be happy,
Yeah.
I guess.
Mm,
But
we can
we'll
only
see.
hope.
Yeah,
It's slim.
so,
It's
you know, what a season.
yeah, it's slim
what a
pickings. This, okay. Again, we just have to address. We say this every season. Oh, I don't know. It doesn't look like there's a lot of good shows, and then we always find like more shows than we care to watch somehow.
Yes, yes, that's true. I mean, like, people could definitely accuse us of maybe always being a little too pessimistic about the upcoming season. And, you know, I think you're right. Like, I think that just comes from a place of,
Experience.
like, for better or worse, yes, we are used to anime disappointing us. And I think, for better or worse, though, having those low expectations means that when something does surprise us, though, it is a truly genuine surprise. And
This
those
is
are always
our
nice to have.
23rd season covering anime, covering all the shows.
Yeah.
Yes,
23?
and I say that to emphasize that we've watched a lot of bad anime.
Mhm.
we have we
Yeah.
have precedent to be pessimistic on
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of these things.
Yeah.
So that's mostly where that's coming from. But as G said, that just kind of makes it better when we do find stuff that surprises us. That's kind of that's always, I always say that's been my favorite thing doing the blog over the past 7 years or whatever it's been, going on 7 years. So I'm sure we'll find something again this season. Maybe it'll be this Kaguya show. Maybe it'll be Girly Air Force. It won't be Girly Air Force.
Let's.
Who knows?
Who knows? Who fucking knows? Maybe the price of smiles will actually become the modern 21st century Legend of the Galactic Heroes we've all
maybe
been waiting
it'll be one
for.
of the. So there were a lot of shows I didn't put on here. Most of them were like bad gotcha game adaptations and stuff like that. Maybe it'll be like Last Period, and it'll be like one of those where that'll totally surprise me.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, who can say?
But either way, we will be covering it all as usual. I will have. I'm not sure. I already have part 1 of our preview guide up, and I'll be working on part 2 this weekend. I don't know exactly when it'll go up. It may be before this podcast goes up. It may be after. We'll see. But you can check that out. Obviously, keep an eye out for our first looks, as they'll be coming out starting next week. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. And we're pretty decent on time considering how many shows we talked about here, but I think we can wrap up there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
yep, so
I think
let's
this is a
do
good
our
place.
housekeeping. You can read all those things I was just talking about at theglorioblog.com. You can follow us on Twitter at theglorioblog. You can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Podbean. Apparently, I found out that the Google Play thing I tried to set up didn't work, so I'm investigating what the problem is with that. But someday, when we may be on Google Play, we'll see.
Please do. I use Google Play on my phone, and I can't find the GLORIO network. I need my GLORIO network fix. Me and all the other, all 12 of the people who use the Google Play app on their phone to listen to podcasts.
So
we need it.
Yeah, we'll get that. We post all the podcast episodes on YouTube, so you can follow our channel there. Please subscribe so that someday maybe we can get ourselves an actual URL, so we don't have to tell you to just go search for the GLORIO blog or any of our podcasts. But they are there if you want to follow us there. That includes, of course, our other podcast with G and Iro, the Legend of the GLORIO Heroes. Shockingly, G has only mentioned the show 3 times this episode, but if you'd like all of their thoughts on as they watch the legendary 1988 OVA. Where were you guys? You're like in the 30s now, right? So you're about. Yes.
The mid-30s now, yes. We have... Look, the only reason I haven't mentioned it so much is because we've only watched one of the 3 episodes we need to watch before we record
I've
for the
watched
next
the
one,
next-
but
I've
let
watched
me-
the
let
whole
me
block.
show
It's
you.
very good.
yeah, let me
Yeah.
show you. Oh, yeah? Is it a...
It's
Would
an
you call it an
interesting
interesting trio of
for sure.
episodes?
So please go
Looking
check
forward
that
to
out.
it,
That's a
then.
very good. That's a good time. And yeah, that'll do it. So thanks guys for toughing it out on this one. Thank you
Yeah,
out
thank
there
you.
for everybody out there for listening and reading the blog, and we'll catch everybody next time.
Bye.
See you later.
またないかにしてられない街に繰り出せよって